This girl is the only daughter in the family, and she has 4 older brothers. Every single one of them absolutely dotes on their little sister. But before this, she was still a pitiful child whom no one loved. Her mother had been a courtesan and died in a foreign land, so she had always lived with her drunkard uncle in the slums. But her uncle was also a gambler who owed a huge debt. To repay it, he often forced the little girl to go out and sell flowers. Today, the creditors came with a group of men to collect what he owed. But the girl's family didn't even have a single valuable thing. With no other choice, the creditor decided to chop off one of the uncle's fingers as a lesson. Just then, Tia ran out trying to stop them. And the moment the uncle saw Tia, the thought of having her pay off his debt came to mind. He told the creditor that she was so pretty, she must be worth several times the amount. Hearing that, Tia was terrified. She immediately ran to her uncle and begged him, saying she would work even harder to sell flowers. But her uncle didn't care about Tia's life at all and told her to hurry up and go with them. The creditor grabbed Tia's hand and strode forward. Tia desperately called for her uncle, but he remained unmoved. Tia knew in her heart that if she went with the creditors, nothing good would come of it. So she bit the creditor's hand. The creditor cried out in pain and viciously threw Tia to the ground. The man clenched his fist. At first, I only planned to take you away, but now it looks like you need to be taught a lesson. Tia tried to run, but when she had just been thrown down, she had twisted her ankle. Her ankle hurt terribly, even more than when her uncle beat her. Just as the man was about to hit Tia, a cloaked man appeared in front of her. "Take your hand off her." The creditor looked over and saw it was just some reckless young man. The young man frowned and cast fire magic, burning the man's arm. "Disappear from my sight right now." Seeing that the man was a mage, the creditor fled in disgrace. Then another blonde man walked up from behind. "Brother Gerald, weren't we supposed to quietly bring our little sister home?" Lucien looked like he didn't care. "No one died, so I was already being merciful." The blonde man could only shake his head helplessly. He crouched down and comforted Tia. "Don't be afraid. What you just saw was only magic." Tia was a little surprised, but even more confused about why they had saved her. The blonde man told Tia, "I'm your second brother, Joel, and he's your 4th brother, Lucien. There are still 2 more brothers at home waiting for you." Tia couldn't believe it. "You must have the wrong person. My uncle said he's my only family. I can't possibly have brothers." Joel smiled warmly. "Your name is Lestia. You have gray eyes and creamy white hair. You are the little sister we've been searching for. Come home with us." She had lived with her uncle in the slums for 11 years. Her uncle had tried to sell the girl to the creditors to pay off his debt, but the 2 brothers who had long been searching for her stopped it from happening. Her second brother approached her with a smile and then snapped his fingers, casting magic on her. Her soaking wet clothes instantly dried. Tia was surprised. Was that magic too? Second brother Joel said that he could control wind, while 4th brother could control fire. Just then, a carriage pulled up in front of them. Second brother continued, "We'll explain everything in detail after we get home." He held out his hand to Tia, who looked somewhat at a loss, but she still took his hand. Second brother pulled Tia up from the ground and suddenly found it strange. Wasn't Tia already 11? Why was she so light? Second brother held Tia by both shoulders, but the pain made Tia cry out. He froze at once. Then he rolled up his little sister's sleeve and discovered that her body was covered in bruises for being beaten. Second brother's tone changed instantly. "Who did this to you?" Tia quickly pulled her arm back and gave him a perfunctory answer. "I'm Fine." Seeing that his sister didn't want to say more, second brother let it go for the moment. He decided to take her home first and treat her injuries. Just then, her uncle hurried over from behind. "That's my niece. Where are you trying to take her?" To the uncle, his niece was a tool for paying off his debts, so naturally he wanted to keep her there selling flowers to support him. The uncle grabbed Tia's hand and continued, "I'm her family. This is her home. Without my permission, she's not going anywhere." At that moment, 4th brother suddenly spoke. "Family? Then you must know why she was being beaten by thugs right outside your door." The uncle looked guilty and stammered. That's because she caused trouble. When a child causes trouble, shouldn't adults discipline them a little?" Hearing that, 4th brother started to lose his patience. He clenched his fists tightly. "You call that discipline?" At that moment, second brother immediately stopped him. 4th brother said, "You're Tia's uncle, right? My father clearly gave you more than enough support money. So why were you still living in a place like this?" It turned out that 10 years earlier, Tia's father had entrusted a servant to deliver both Tia and the support money to the uncle. The uncle became flustered again and shouted, "That's because raising a child costs a lot of money. Back then, 1,000 gold coins wasn't nearly enough. Now that I've raised her, you think you can just take her away? How is that any different from robbery?" Tia was stunned. Her uncle had clearly told her that her parents had left nothing for her, yet he had actually received 1,000 gold coins. That was an enormous sum, enough for a family to live a lifetime without worrying about food or clothing. Tia wanted to ask her uncle to explain, but he quickly cut her off. "Shut up. When adults are talking, what business does a child have interrupting?" Second brother frowned. You still want money, is that it? I'll give you another 1,000 gold coins. But this money is not child support. It's compensation for giving up your guardianship of her. From now on, don't ever appear in front of my sister again. The uncle was overjoyed. He snatched the gold from second brother's hand at once. Don't worry, I'll vanish without a trace. Tia had lived with her uncle in the slums for 11 years. Whenever he got drunk, he would abuse her. Yet her uncle didn't even know who the girl's father was. Second brother had thought the uncle was being so unreasonable simply because he didn't know her father was an important man. At this point, fourth brother stepped forward with a look of contempt and explained, her father was the former Duke of Borchester. The uncle was shocked. The Borchester ducal family was famous to everyone. That was because the Borchester family had produced many outstanding mages generation after generation. Fourth brother used fire magic to warn the uncle not to entertain any foolish ideas. Then he fired at the wall behind him. This is your first warning and your last. Terrified by the magic, the uncle ran away with his tail between his legs. After that, Tia and the two brothers boarded the carriage home. But on the way back, Tia noticed that her clothes were filthy. If she dirted the seat, would she get scolded? But that thought was quickly interrupted by second brother. Tia, what's wrong? Did you forget to bring something? Even if you did forget something, don't worry. We can buy it again for you. Her brothers were being so kind to her. The only time she had ever been treated with even a hint of warmth was when her uncle occasionally smiled at her while drunk. If she really was their biological sister, why had they only come to find her now? Tia wanted to ask her brothers this question, but she was too shy, and her voice was so soft that it was cut off by fourth brother. Fourth brother asked Tia whether she had read the newspapers recently. Then he held one up. There are reports about our family in here. It's better if you read it yourself than hear it from us. Fourth brother handed the paper to Tia. It said that the former Duke of Borchester had passed away. The news had caused a sensation in noble society. Tia opened the newspaper and stared at the dense lines of writing, her hands trembling slightly. I'm sorry, I can't read. The moment those words came out, both second brother and fourth brother were stunned. The carriage fell silent. Then Tia lowered her head and hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry. It's all because I'm too stupid. I was wrong. I shouldn't have upset you. Tia trembled in front of her brothers, afraid that they might use magic to hurt her. Fourth brother went quiet for a moment, and the next instant, he declared that he wanted to kill that bastard. But second brother quickly stopped him again. Don't make things bigger than they already are. Didn't brother Gerald tell us to bring our little sister home as quietly as possible? Seeing how dejected their sister looked, fourth brother felt helpless. He could only put on an unconcerned expression and try to comfort her. It's fine. So what if he can't read? Being literate only brings more worries anyway. After saying that, fourth brother secretly glanced at his little sister, but Tia's mood still didn't improve. At that moment, second brother crouched down and gently held Tia's arms. Tia, you're not stupid at all, and you haven't done anything wrong. Tia looked doubtful. I haven't done anything wrong. Second brother picked up the newspaper and said, even though you haven't met him yet, this man is your eldest brother, Gerald. Right now, brother Gerald is still staying at the palace because of the matter of inheriting the title. So that's why he sent us to bring you home. Tia looked confused. Yes, because father passed away not long ago. It was only after eldest brother became head of the family that we learned of your existence. But Tia had never heard anything about her father before. What kind of person was he? Second brother thought for a moment. The former Duke of Borchester was a cold and foolish man. After all, he abandoned such a lovely child as you. Very quickly, second brother changed the subject. Even though we have different mothers, we share the same blood. So could you call me brother? Tia was surprised and also hesitant. Could she really call him that? At that moment, fourth brother suddenly spoke. If you don't want to, then forget it. If it were me, I'd also find it hard to accept strangers suddenly showing up and saying they're my brothers. Fourth brother's blunt remark made second brother extremely awkward. How can you say that? As time slowly passed, they finally arrived at the ducal estate. Tia had originally been the only daughter of the duke's household, but her father had given her to her drunken uncle. Today, the duke's two sons brought the girl back to the ducal manor. The moment Tia returned home, it was her first time seeing such a luxurious mansion. It all felt like a dream. Second brother carried Tia down from the carriage, and then the butler and servants gave her an enthusiastic welcome. At that moment, the butler suddenly noticed that Tia had no balancing stone on her and stepped forward to ask, "May I ask what magical attribute the young lady has? I will prepare the appropriate stone for you at once." But Tia couldn't understand a word of what the butler was asking. It turned out that the Borchester bloodline was born with magical power, meaning they could freely manipulate the forces of water, fire, wind, and earth that made up this world. Has the young lady never felt this kind of power before? At those words, Tia became a little downcast. She truly couldn't use magic. Then I must not be a member of the Borchester family after all. Fourth brother stroked Tia's hair and comforted her. What are you talking about? No matter what anyone says, you are our family. It has nothing to do with whether or not you can use magic. But Tia still felt anxious. Then second brother spoke up to reassure her too. Lucian is right. It doesn't matter at all. After saying that, second brother told Tia to roll up her left sleeve. Look at the red gem on this bracelet. This is what Haylock was talking about, a balancing stone. Although we can use elemental magic, after a certain amount of time, we have to use a balancing stone of the opposite attribute. This balancing stone uses the fire attribute to balance out my wind magic. Without it, I wouldn't be able to control my wind magic, and I could even die. Tia was stunned. Then second brother raised his left hand and showed her his balancing stone. A red mist wrapped itself around his wrist. Using magic is really nothing more than a very dangerous and troublesome thing. As the red mist faded, the ruby on the bracelet turned gray as well. So, in that sense, someone who doesn't need these things is perfect just as she is. Haylock simply failed to see your perfection. Then, Butler Haylock bowed to the young lady and apologized. I'm sorry, my lady. I spoke out of turn. Tia hurriedly waved both hands. No, you didn't do anything wrong. Because the third brother had run away from home and still had not returned, second brother had to find him before eldest brother came back. He handed the Tia he had been carrying over to fourth brother, and also reminded him to be gentle with their little sister. After saying that, second brother left by carriage. Carrying Tia, fourth brother followed the maid toward the bath chamber. When they arrived, the maid suddenly noticed that fourth young master was still following them inside and asked, "Young master, are you planning to go into the bath as well?" Fourth brother's face turned bright red. "What are you talking about? I only carried her in because her foot is injured and it's hard for her to walk." After saying that, fourth brother hurriedly put Tia down and left the bath in embarrassment. Tia had originally been the only daughter of the ducal household, but because she couldn't use magic, her father gave her to her uncle. Every time her uncle got drunk, he would abuse the girl. Fortunately, her brothers brought her back to the ducal estate. Tia followed the servants into the bath. The servants carefully helped her undress, and at that moment, an infuriating sight was revealed. Tia's body was covered in marks from her uncle's beatings. The servant asked how she had gotten those injuries, but Tia only stammered, "I got them from falling." It turned out that whenever her uncle beat and scolded her, he had threatened her into saying the injuries came from falling. The servant knew that Tia was deliberately hiding the truth, so she didn't ask too many questions. She led Tia to the bathtub. Tia was full of wonder. "It seems Milady really likes flowers." Then the servant squeezed out a large amount of bath foam. "Then you'll definitely like this too." Bubbles floated out from the servant's hands, and it was Tia's first time being treated like this. After the bath, the servant applied medicine to Tia's wounds. Very soon, Tia noticed that her injuries no longer hurt at all. Since the servants hadn't known Tia would be returning, they hadn't prepared any clothes for her. There was only this nightgown, so Tia would have to make do with it for one night. When Tia stayed silent for a long time, the servant became a little dejected. "Does Milady not like this nightgown?" Tia humbly asked the servant, "Am I really allowed to wear such beautiful clothes?" The servant smiled and leaned closer to Tia. "Of course, you are the only young lady of the ducal house. Tomorrow, you'll be wearing clothes even prettier than this." After helping Tia get dressed, the servant brought her to the dining hall. The moment she stepped in, fourth brother was completely melted by how cute his little sister looked. The scene shifted, and fourth brother recalled what eldest brother had once said to them. "We also have a younger sister. Because that child was born without magic, father abandoned her. I think we should take responsibility for that child." But eldest brother had been extremely busy with the succession of the title. Third brother, after breaking free from their father's control, had left. As for himself, he had had absolutely no interest in searching for his sister, but second brother had dragged him along anyway. At first, fourth brother hadn't cared much, but for some reason, it had suddenly turned into him being the one responsible. Tia sat at the table, looking timid and constrained. Fourth brother looked confused. "What kind of expression is that? It's not like I'm going to eat you. I didn't know what you liked, so I had them prepare a bit of everything." Tia stared at the lavish spread of dishes, hesitant. "They all look delicious. I just don't know which one I should start with." Fourth brother was puzzled. "What's there to worry about? Just eat." Just as Tia reached for the utensils, fourth brother noticed that her hands were covered in bruises and wounds, and he fell into thought. Tia secretly glanced at him and thought she must have picked up the wrong fork, so she immediately apologized. "It's all because I'm too stupid. I am sorry," fourth brother told Tia. "Even if you really were stupid, you still wouldn't have done anything wrong. Listen carefully. No matter what you do wrong in the future, I'll forgive you. So at least in front of me, you can do whatever you want. What is it like to have an older brother who dotes on you? During dinner, he carefully cut your steak for you and then sat beside you, foolishly watching you eat, leaving Tia at a complete loss. Tia picked up her fork and enjoyed the meat her brother had prepared for her. She had never eaten anything so delicious in her life. Then fourth brother stood up and told Tia, "You need to eat vegetables too. Being picky isn't good." After a long, satisfying meal, fourth brother scooped Tia up in his arms. "I'll take you to your room." Tia was shocked, her hands waving frantically. "I can walk by myself now," but fourth brother paid her no mind at all. "Stop moving around. I'm only carrying you to your room." As the door was slowly opened by a servant, a neat and beautiful room appeared before her eyes. After putting Tia down, fourth brother said goodnight and was about to leave, but Tia still looked restrained. Fourth brother asked, "What's wrong? Don't you like this bed?" Tia stammered, "Am I allowed to sleep on the bed?" That left fourth brother bewildered. "If not on the bed, then where would you sleep?" It turned out that for the past 11 years, Tia had been sleeping on straw while her uncle slept on the bed. Tia asked fourth brother again for confirmation. "Even though I'm not the owner of the room, I can still sleep on the bed?" Fourth brother spread out his left hand. "Of course, this is your room. Everything here was prepared for you." Then, without another word, fourth brother picked Tia up again. "If I don't do this, you won't get on the bed at all, right?" The moment he lifted Tia, fourth brother asked, "Don't you hate your uncle? Tell me, do you want him to disappear?" He looked deadly serious, thinking to himself that as long as she said the word, he would make that bastard disappear for good. But Tia's answer truly surprised him. "Although, I often think my uncle is awful. He's the only person I could rely on. Before I was 5 years old, before he started drinking, he was actually very kind to me. I only hope that in the future my uncle can quit drinking and then live happily." Fourth brother coughed awkwardly. "You really are too kind." As drowsiness washed over her, Tia started to feel sleepy. She gently closed her eyes. Fourth brother picked up the blanket and was just about to tuck her in, but Tia told him, "Thank you. You don't have to do that." Because Tia had been afraid of the dark since she was little and didn't dare sleep alone at night. Fourth brother stretched out his left hand and a dazzling light burst forth from his palm. Then, countless glowing butterflies appeared before her, fluttering through the air. The whole room was lit by their glow, and Tia was stunned by the sight. "This is light made by magic. Even if you touch it, it won't burn you." One butterfly landed on Tia's finger. "How magical. It's so beautiful." Seeing Tia so happy, fourth brother felt greatly comforted. "These butterflies will stay with you until tomorrow morning, so just sleep without worrying." Fourth brother walked out of Tia's room, but what he didn't know was that Tia had started overthinking again. "If only I could use magic too. Then I'd be able to believe that I'm really part of the Borchester family, and I'd be able to feel happy that I've finally met my real family." By this point, Tia was already half asleep. Early the next morning, the servants were busy from dawn. It hasn't even been long since the former duke's funeral ended, and now there's already a mountain of things to do. Exactly. There's not even any time to rest. And now there's one more person to serve. The servants complained while hurrying through their work. "Say, is the young lady really the former duke's daughter? Who knows whether it's true or not?" At that moment, a supervising maid cut them off. "What nonsense are you all gossiping about? The young lady has been acknowledged by Duke Gerald himself. If you have time to stand around talking, you'd be better off cleaning properly." Meanwhile, the chefs in the kitchen were also carefully preparing food for Tia. "Since the young lady ate a lot of meat last night, we should prepare more meat for breakfast. We must make nutritionally balanced meals for her." The chefs were full of enthusiasm. Tia woke up bathed in bright rays of sunlight. "It's so soft." After waking up, Tia was still a little worried. "Am I really allowed to use the things here?" She stood up and looked around the room. She carefully admired the famous paintings on the wall. "Even this sofa is soft. I love it. And this desk." Just as Tia was about to pick up a book, she remembered that she couldn't read, and a feeling of inferiority rose in her. Just then, a servant came to Tia's room to help her wash up and then lead her to breakfast. A rich breakfast was laid out on the table, but Tia didn't start eating for a long time. It turned out she wanted to dine with fourth brother, but he had already finished breakfast very early. He was probably doing sword training by now. Tia could only eat by herself. How lovable can a kind girl be? Tia's actions can answer that. Tia had originally lived in a place where she could barely even afford food. But then one day, two older brothers she had never met before brought Tia back to the ducal estate, and from then on, she began living the life of a noble young lady. The servants of the ducal house busied themselves constantly for the newly arrived young lady, bathing Tia, cleaning her room, and cooking for her. Tia felt extremely unaccustomed to this kind of pampered life and a little guilty. She had clearly never helped any of them, yet they were wholeheartedly taking care of her. After thinking for a moment, Tia decided, no matter what, I have to thank them somehow. Very soon, Tia asked Dora for help with something. The scene shifted, and Tia was chatting and laughing with the servants and the head chef. Unaware of what was going on, fourth brother asked Tia, "What are you doing?" The sound of hurried footsteps drew nearer. Fourth brother snatched the little flower from Tia's hand and frowned. "What is this?" Tia instinctively started to apologize, but after only 2 words, she remembered what fourth brother had told her before. No matter what she did, fourth brother would support her. With an expectant look, Tia told him, "These are paper flowers. I made them to thank everyone." Fourth brother was puzzled. It turned out that while living in the slums, because there were no flowers in winter, Tia would fold discarded newspapers into paper flowers to sell. So she wanted to use paper flowers to sincerely thank everyone. But fourth brother's tone became very firm. "Who told you to thank them? You don't need to do something like this." Seeing that the situation was bad, the maid beside Tia quickly stepped forward to apologize. "I'm very sorry, young Master Lucian. I should have stopped milady." Tia immediately cut Dora off. "I wanted to do this myself. It was my own choice." Fourth brother was still a little shocked. Tia's gaze was very firm. "Last night, young master was the one who said I could do whatever I wanted. I want to thank the people who helped me. I'm just doing what I ought to do, aren't I?" Fourth brother looked utterly disbelieving. Was this really the little girl from last night? Tia reached out to take back the paper flower. "I had actually made one for you too, young master. But if you don't like it, then just throw it away." The moment he heard that, fourth brother immediately pulled his hand back. "Who said I didn't like it? I was just asking. You can do whatever you want." Fourth brother happily pinned the paper flower to his chest. Very soon, Dora suggested that fourth brother and Tia have a simple cup of tea together. "Come with me to the study." The servants behind them were full of admiration. Did you all see that? Just now, young master actually couldn't say a word in front of milady. Exactly. I never would have thought the young lady, who looks so soft and delicate, could actually be this bold. By accident, Tia activated the magic of an interpreter, a power strong enough to make the earth shake violently. Just now, fourth brother had brought Tia to the study. He had only meant to have some tea there, but the sheer number of books in the study left Tia amazed. She looked exactly like someone who had never seen the world before, gazing around curiously. Fourth brother could only go prepare tea first, telling his little sister to look around as she pleased. "Anyway, this study belongs to our family. Even if you tore all the books up and folded them into paper flowers, it wouldn't matter." Tia's face turned bright red, and she insisted that she would never do such a thing. Tia walked to the second floor. It was her first time seeing so many books. "If only I could read too." Just as Tia was feeling down, a dazzling light suddenly appeared behind her. Tia quickly turned around, only to see a book glowing. Tia took a few quick little steps toward it, instinctively thinking she must have seen it wrong, so she rubbed her eyes hard. Yes, Tia had not seen it wrong. The book seemed to have a will of its own and was deliberately drawing her in. Perhaps because it had been stored there for too long, the dust on the book made Tia cough, and just then, something miraculous happened. Tia, who had never read a book before, somehow understood the title, Definition of Modifiers. Tia gently opened the book, only to find herself involuntarily reciting the spell written inside. A magic circle appeared before her eyes. This was the phenomenon of a successful spell invocation. Suddenly, the whole earth began to tremble. The people who didn't know what was happening thought young Master Martiels had returned. He had always used earth attribute magic like this, shaking the ground this much. He must be unhappy about something again. But as the tremors grew stronger and stronger, a maid worriedly said, "Could the young lady have been frightened?" Fourth brother immediately stood up and hurried toward the second floor of the study. Then he suddenly discovered that his own little sister was reciting a spell. No way. Lestia is actually an interpreter. No one had expected that Tia, who had been abandoned by her father for being born without magical power, would later be discovered by fourth brother to be an inheritor of script-based magic. Just now, fourth brother had seen his little sister reading a magic book. He was extremely shocked and moved closer to ask Tia, "How can you read an ancient grimoire?" It turned out that an interpreter referred to a person capable of deciphering magical books written in ancient times. Magic was a legacy left behind by an ancient civilization. Long ago, most humans had been able to use magic freely. But overnight, for some unknown reason, people lost that ability. From then on, magic could only be passed down through bloodlines and writing. Those who inherited magic through blood were called bloodline mages, and their families would also suffer corresponding side effects. Meanwhile, those who inherited magic through writing were called magic researchers. By deciphering grimoires and creating magical tools, they helped ordinary people use magic. But deciphering the writing in grimoires was nearly impossible, which was why magic researchers had been able to continue only under the protection of the imperial family of the Morgadum Empire. Although fourth brother had heard that there really were some people who could decipher them, such people were exceedingly rare. He truly had not expected his own little sister to be an interpreter. Did father and eldest brother know about this? If the outside world found out before fourth brother could finish his thoughts, Tia interrupted him. Did I do something wrong? Fourth brother hurriedly comforted her. No, you didn't get hurt, did you? No. After learning that Tia was fine, fourth brother brought her to have tea and snacks. Once they sat down at the table, fourth brother seemed to still be thinking about the matter of the interpreter, making the study unusually quiet. Tia was the first to speak. Young Master Lucian, are you angry? Was I not supposed to read that book? Fourth brother immediately came back to himself. I'm not angry. There are lots of magic books at home. It doesn't matter whether you want to read them or throw them away. But it would be better for you to wait until you can read ordinary books first before reading grimoires. Yes, starting tomorrow, fourth brother will teach you to read. Hearing that, Tia was overjoyed. Reading is important, but you're too thin. You need to eat more first. Tia took the snack and began chewing it bite by bite. No one had expected that news of Tia being brought back to the ducal estate would reach the ears of the imperial family. That very likely could bring deadly danger upon Tia, and the fact that she was an interpreter might also be exposed because of it. Just then, eldest brother Gerald had only just finished attending the ceremony for inheriting the title, when he was invited by the imperial family to a commemorative party. But Gerald was absent-minded the whole time. Had Joel successfully brought their sister home by now? Just as Gerald was still thinking about his sister, a man approached from behind. He was the crown prince of the imperial family, Elishan. Raising a glass of red wine, he came before Gerald. The Borchester crest suits you even better than I imagined. If the former duke could see you today, he would surely be pleased. I'm truly delighted to see you somewhere other than the academy. It turned out that Elishan and Gerald had been classmates at the Royal Academy for over a decade. Elishan was fiercely competitive and always wanted to show off his abilities before His Majesty. But his rival had been the overwhelmingly capable Gerald, though Elishan had lost to Gerald and failed to win His Majesty's approval. Deep down, he knew that no matter how outstanding Gerald was, in the end, he was still his subordinate. Elishan asked Gerald, "Why aren't you enjoying the party? What are you doing standing here? Look, every noble lady here is watching you. After all, you are the unmarried Duke of Borchester. They're all trying their hardest to catch your eye. If you wanted, they'd probably lift their skirts for you on the spot." Gerald did not answer Elishan's question, while Elishan seemed to deliberately be looking for trouble. How strange. In a setting like this, I haven't seen a single member of the Borchester family. This is your celebration party for inheriting the title. Shouldn't everyone be gathered together, enjoying it? Standing behind Elishan, Gerald cast him a sidelong glance and replied, "With your Highness the Crown Prince offering congratulations, what need is there for anyone else's?" The corner of Elishan's lips lifted slightly as he said smugly, "Let me guess. The second one, Joel, is busy with academy matters. The third one, Martiel's, must have gone off on another carefree trip. And as for the youngest in your family," before the Crown Prince could finish, Gerald cut him off. "Your Highness also knows that my fourth brother is in poor health." At this, Elishan looked even more pleased. "No, Gerald, was I talking about your fourth brother just now? I meant the youngest one in your family. That cute little sister of yours." Gerald's heart jolted. Since when had the imperial family known of Lestia's existence? Could it be that they even knew she was an interpreter? If Tia's identity as an interpreter were exposed, she would become a tool of the imperial family. As long as an interpreter existed, ordinary people could wield magic. The imperial family could strengthen its magical legions and gain victory in war. Gerald understood that all too well, but to serve a scum like Elishan was utterly revolting. A man who had just compared him to a horse and now treated him like a hunting dog was not someone worth serving. But the problem now was that the balancing stone was the Borchester family's fatal weakness. His younger brothers. It was a choice they had made, so no matter what, they had to obtain the magic core from the royal family. Even under the Crown Prince's oppressive authority, Big Brother Gerald showed no fear at all. He went straight up to Elishan. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, you really do have a lot on your mind. But under my leadership, the Borchester family will only keep getting better." The Crown Prince burst into laughter. "Is that so? Then I'll be watching closely." The tension between the two only grew stronger, and I was also looking forward to seeing the future empire your Highness the Crown Prince intends to build. Meanwhile, the party was still as lively as ever. Then the scene shifted. The Crown Prince was violently smashing up the place. He hurled cups, stomped on the table, and snarled, "That damn mage actually dared to look at me like that. Insolent bastard." Just as he was about to smash a chair, the attendant at his side stopped him. "Your Highness, calm down. I've found someone who knows the Duke of Borchester's younger sister very well." Elishan gently set the chair down. The anger in his heart died down instantly, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. "Really? That's wonderful. I must see that arrogant Gerald panic and lose his composure." Faced with the Crown Prince's schemes, would Tia be able to escape danger? Tia finally got to meet her third brother, who had run away from home just moments ago, while her fourth brother was teaching Tia how to make the sign of the cross. the door was suddenly shoved open by a man. "Where is my little sister?" Tia stood up in surprise. "Young Master Joel?" The man smiled brightly. "I'm not Joel. I'm way more handsome than him. How could you mix us up?" Tia looked puzzled. Could this be my legendary third brother, Marcius? Then her second brother Joel walked in from behind, carrying a box. He asked indignantly, "Who are you saying is more handsome?" He brushed right past the third brother and headed straight for Tia. "My adorable little sis. How have you been these past few days? As promised, I brought your third brother back together with a gift." Joel set the gift in front of Tia. "The moment I saw this, I thought of you." Joel took out the gift, a pink rabbit plush. Then Joel slowly poked his head out from beside it. "Look, don't its eyes look a lot like yours?" Tia was overjoyed. She hugged the rabbit plush with one arm. "It's so cute. Can I really keep it?" Joel crouched down and gently said, "It's not like I could give this to Lucian, right?" Hearing that, Tia couldn't help picturing her fourth brother in a funny scene. "Then I'll accept it. Thank you, young Master Joel. As long as you like it." Joel still couldn't resist mocking their third brother. Compared to an older brother who ran away from home and came back empty-handed, of course the one who brought you a present is more handsome, right? The third brother was furious. "Joel, didn't you hear? Tia didn't call you brother. She called you young Master Joel." The third brother ignored the second brother completely, walked past him, pulled out a chair, and sat down in front of Tia. He said gently, "I never imagined I'd have a little sister. Your name is Lady, right?" Tia looked bewildered. "My name is Lestia." The third brother's face turned red. "I don't care. From now on, I'm calling you Lady." Hearing that nickname, it surfaced in his mind as though it were fate itself. Their fourth brother, sitting by the desk, bluntly said it was sickening. The next moment, the third brother suddenly lifted Tia up and spun her around in the air. Tia had seen children her own age play like this with their fathers before. She had envied them so much back then. She never thought she would one day be lifted high like this too. "Young Master Marcius, I'm getting dizzy. Please put me down." But her sister-obsessed third brother seemed completely carried away and kept spinning despite her plea. "You're calling me young Master Marcius? That's not right. Lily, say it with me. Big brother Marcius. You still haven't heard Lady call you two brothers, have you?" That instantly filled the second and fourth brothers with jealousy. Since their third brother had just returned, Lucian couldn't wait to tell the second brother about Tia's identity as a seer. With a serious look, Lucian said, "Joel, come with me. There's something I need to discuss with you alone." The second brother looked confused. "What is it that's making you so serious?" Lucian didn't even turn his head as he walked out the door. The second brother immediately went over to Tia. "Tia, wait here for a moment. I'll be right back. As for Marcius, just ignore him." After saying that, he waved and followed after Lucian. Marcius wasn't idle either. He asked Tia, "Now that it's just the two of us, what should we play?" Tia looked at her third brother, unsure what to do. Marcius grew worried. "Lady, do you think your brother is too old, so you don't want to play with me?" He scratched the back of his head and continued, "That's too cruel. I'm only 18. Tia immediately explained, "It's not like that. Before, I sold flowers from morning till night, every day. I've never really played any games. Even if I was with children my own age sometimes, my uncle would scold me. I don't know how to play." After hearing Tia's explanation, her third brother finally understood just how pitiful his little sister had been. "Then what did you usually do at home? Didn't you play with Lucian either?" Tia replied, "Oh, right. Big brother Lucian taught me the Empire's common language." Her third brother was quite surprised. "But that's not a game." Tia hurriedly explained, "But I thought it was very interesting." Her third brother sighed helplessly. "Good heavens. You're afraid people won't know you're a child of the Borchester family, aren't you? Did you do anything else? Don't tell me that's all." Tia thought for a moment. "I read books, and I took walks in the garden." Her third brother smiled. "Walks are good. So that means you've never left the house?" Marcius had always been the type who couldn't stay cooped up at home, yet his little sister had to stay in that boring house all day long. Unable to help himself, he pulled Tia into his arms. "Those useless brothers of yours. Because of them, you never got to have any fun. Gerald's a perfectionist, Joel's a model student, and Lucian is cold and boring. Your third brother has lived in this closed-off house for 18 years, and I've realized something very profound. People of our family can simply enjoy life. And if I'm the only one enjoying life, then I won't be contributing to the family at all." Resting both hands on Tia's shoulders, he said, "All right, let your third brother teach you how to truly enjoy life. Not every child from a wealthy family had a perfect childhood. Although they were the young masters of the Borchester family, they could only live on the northwestern estate. In Joel's childhood, there was barely any memory of their father because he was always busy. Their mother, due to poor health, often left the children at the estate and went alone to the warm south to recover. Because of that, the three young masters were all basically raised by their nanny. Then one day, their mother returned, pale-faced, holding Lucian in her arms. Seeing that, the second brother became jealous. He himself had never been held by their mother. Yet Lucian had her all to himself. So Joel angrily ran back to his room. At first, Joel was deeply jealous. of Lucian, but he understood that such jealousy meant nothing in front of their ailing mother. As the days passed, their mother's illness worsened, yet their father had never truly cherished her. He didn't even attend her funeral. Their mother's only last wish was for the 3 older brothers to take good care of their younger brother. Lestia was the child born in the year their mother died. She was the reason their mother spent her final days in loneliness and misery. But Tia had lived a life completely different from theirs. The moment Joel first saw her, he knew she was innocent. Lucian told Joel that the child could read grimoires, and Joel was shocked. Gerald hadn't told him, but he must have already known that Tia was a seer. No matter what Tia's identity was, it didn't matter. She was still their sister. Before Big Brother comes back, let's work on becoming a little closer to her, Joel said, placing a hand on their 4th brother's shoulder. Come on, she's been waiting for us a long time. But when the 2 of them returned to the room, all they found inside was a little waterfall. Joel froze in shock. Had Marcius taken her out to play? What kind of experience would it be for a girl who had lived in the slums for 11 years to arrive in the most prosperous city? Just now, the 3rd brother had secretly taken his little sister out of the ducal house behind everyone's backs. But by the time they set out, it was already getting late in the afternoon. If they kept going like this, it would be dark soon. The 4th brother said they would have to take a shortcut. There's a road that can get us there quickly. The moment he said that, the carriage leapt toward a cliff. Tia was terrified inside the carriage. Good heavens, there wasn't even a road there. Soon, the 4th brother told Tia, "We'll just make one." From the opposite cliff, a huge amount of earth surged out and rapidly formed a road. Tia stared in shock at the strange phenomenon. How did a road suddenly appear? Then she turned and realized that it was all her brother's magic. With a loud thud, the carriage landed safely. As time passed, they finally arrived in the bustling district. This was the most prosperous street in the capital. Her freedom-loving 3rd brother couldn't help sighing. Even the air feels different here. Tia, on the other hand, seemed a little reserved. She curiously looked around. The colorful shops all around her felt unfamiliar. Yet she didn't look especially happy. Lowering his head, her 3rd brother asked, "Lady, don't you like it here? Should we go somewhere else?" Tia looked at him. "No, I'm just worried about you, Big Brother." He was a little surprised. He had run away from home so many times and never once had any family member said something like that to him. Yet this little thing was actually saying she was worried about him. Tia hesitated, but still said it. "Big Brother, just now, to get here quickly, you used a lot of magic. Is that really okay? I've heard using magic can be dangerous." The 3rd brother was ecstatic, practically sprouting hearts. Lily is really worried about her big brother. When Joel had gone looking for him after he ran away, he had told him they had brought their half-sister home. At first he had thought she was just some dull, annoying little pet, but she turned out to be the first family member who sincerely cared about him. He felt delighted inside. So this was what it was like to have a little sister. He put a hand on her shoulder and cheerfully said, "It's nothing. Don't worry. I was born to enjoy life." Pointing at the earring on his ear, he added, "This is enough." Then he took Tia shopping. There was nothing happier than going shopping with a brother who doted on his little sister. Tia merely glanced at the jewelry in a jewelry shop, and her 3rd brother thought he understood at once. "Lady, go inside and pick whatever jewelry you like." Little did he know, Tia had only looked at the shop sign for a little longer because it was new to her. Even so, her brother pulled her right into the store. He put a ruby crown on Tia's head, and her whole bearing rose several levels at once. He even deliberately told the clerk, "Wrap this one up too." And this one, in the blink of an eye, the 3rd brother was covered in all kinds of jewelry. The shop owner hurriedly praised him. "Young master, you have excellent taste. One look and I can tell you're someone who knows quality." Tia quickly tried to stop her 3rd brother. "Big brother, I don't need these accessories." Her 3rd brother looked puzzled. "What's wrong? You don't like them?" Tia cautiously glanced at the owner. Her 3rd brother thought Tia simply didn't think much of the shop. The owner, meanwhile, was practically in tears, thinking that the fat deal already in his mouth was about to fly away. Tia hurriedly answered, "No, that's not it. They're all beautiful, and I do like them." Before she could finish, her 3rd brother cut her off. "Then it's settled. Wrap all of them for me." Very soon, the owner brought out the bill. Only then did the 3rd brother remember that Joel had taken all his money. The owner thought for a moment. Judging from his clothing, he was obviously some noble family's young master, and the shine of the earring he wore showed it was extremely valuable. When a noble goes out, why bother carrying heavy money? You only need to write a note in your family's name, and we'll come collect the payment ourselves. The 3rd brother refused immediately after hearing that. "No, I'm buying a gift for my little sister. If I use the family name, wouldn't that ruin the meaning of it?" The owner was terribly disappointed, while Tia felt the complete opposite. She let out a sigh of relief. Luckily, Big Brother didn't bring money. Otherwise, he really would have spent a huge amount on all this stuff I don't even need. Then the 3rd brother suddenly had an idea about a great solution. He took off his earring and told the owner, "You trade in gemstones, so I don't need to tell you what this is worth, do I?" The owner was startled. and stared fixedly at the gleaming golden earring. The third brother wasn't offering it as a direct exchange, but as collateral. Once he had money, he would come back and redeem it. Tia strongly objected inside the moment she heard this. Big brother Marcius, you can't use that. What she didn't realize was that it was a magic neutralizing stone. If her third brother lost his neutralizing stone, it meant he could be hit by magical backlash at any time. As the third young master of a ducal house, buying things without bringing money, Marcius had no choice but to use his own magic neutralizing stone as collateral. He told Tia he would earn the money back very soon, so she shouldn't worry about him suffering magical backlash. Come with me, little sister. I know a place that's both fun and a great way to make money. Using the magic neutralizing stone as security, Marcius even borrowed a little money from the owner. Then the scene changed, and Tia arrived at an incredibly noisy place. It turned out to be a place where winning a game could make you rich, while losing could leave you with nothing. Tia was filled with regret. She really shouldn't have come to a place like this. Her third brother pointed ahead. Lady, let's play that game. With Tia by his side, the chips in her third brother's hand kept increasing. He won again. Looks like my little sister is a goddess of luck. Tia, however, looked nervous. She clenched both fists tightly. Her third brother asked, Lady, what's wrong? Are you bored? Tia's expression was extremely serious. She looked as if she'd lost her soul. Her third brother opened his right hand and said, It's probably because you're only watching, so it feels boring. Here, Lady, you should try too. Worried that she might lose all of her brother's money, Tia lied. I think it's more interesting watching you play, big brother. Her third brother saw through the reason. Is that so? Then I have to show you something even more interesting. Fear rose in Tia's heart. Big brother, you already have plenty of money now. Why don't we stop playing? Her third brother gently patted her head. Are you getting a little hungry? Then let's play one last round and leave. What she didn't know was that this final round would nearly bring deadly danger upon Tia. The third brother brought Tia to a high-low game table. The moment he stepped up, he pushed out all his chips. Everyone present was stunned, and Tia's heart couldn't calm down for a long time, until the spinner landed on 11. Only then did she relax. That meant her third brother had won even more this time. The spectators behind them applauded, while some muttered that the third brother was just lucky and that next time might not go his way. He ignored all the talk. Instead, he looked at his little sister. Lady, this time you throw it. Tia quickly turned and asked, Big brother, if I lose, all this money will be gone, right? He was brimming with confidence. That's right. So now it's time for the goddess of luck to step in. We only won this much thanks to you. Tia grew even more nervous and kept trying to persuade him. But just then, someone announced, if no throw is made within 10 seconds, it will count as a forfeit. The third brother set the dice in front of Tia. If you don't throw now, we won't even get the chance to try. Left with no choice, Tia could only steel herself and do it. Tia squeezed her eyes shut and silently prayed, please. As the dice rolled through the air and landed on the table, it was 12. Her third brother immediately scooped Tia up and spun her around. Lady, you're amazing. As expected of my little sister, you have luck just as good as mine. Tia also showed a relieved smile. Very soon, her brother brought Tia to the drinks counter and told her to stay there obediently and drink something while he went to exchange all the chips for money. Looking at the ice cream before her, Tia was full of curiosity. It looked just like clouds in the sky. Suddenly, someone dressed in black appeared behind Tia, and just as expected, Tia was kidnapped. She was abducted by two masked men. Just moments ago, her third brother had proudly been carrying a heavy sack of gold coins, preparing to go back to Tia. But when he arrived at the drinks counter, he discovered his little sister was gone. He broke out in a cold sweat and loudly shouted Tia's name, but there was no response. Her third brother began to realize something was very wrong. He didn't even care about the bag of gold in his hand anymore. Meanwhile, the two masked men were confirming Tia's identity. Are you sure it's this child? The other masked man replied, absolutely. I heard her call the Borchester family's third young master Big Brother. Tia was tied up so tightly by the masked men that all she could do was pray desperately for her brothers to come save her. Soon, the masked men brought Tia to a carriage used for transporting birds. Before long, they carted her away. Tia was terrified. What am I supposed to do? Tears welled up in her eyes. Suddenly, Tia remembered something her fourth brother had told her. Decide for yourself who you want to be your family. Tia's eyes instantly became firm. Since she had chosen to become a member of the Borchester family, then she shouldn't give up so easily. Soon, Tia noticed a nail in the carriage. Could she use it to cut the rope? Bracing herself against the nail, she tried again and again to use it to cut through the rope. But using a nail to sever was simply too difficult. Then the carriage suddenly stopped. It turned out that Tia's brothers had blocked the carriage. One of the men angrily asked the third brother, "What do you want?" The second brother said gravely, "We want to see what's inside the carriage." It's Big Brother Joel's voice. Tia was overjoyed. Meanwhile, the third brother had gone right up to the carriage and kept knocking on it. "Lady, are you in there?" But Tia couldn't answer him at all in her current state. All she could make were muffled whimpers. With the flapping wings and chirping of the birds added in, Tia's cries for help were completely drowned out. It simply wasn't enough for her third brother outside to hear. The second brother tried to reason with the two men. "We only need one look inside the carriage." But the men reacted fiercely. "These are all pet birds being delivered to the palace. Even if you're nobles, you can't just tamper with royal property. That would be rebellion." That infuriated the third brother. "Don't go around throwing accusations like that. We just want to take a look. And besides, around the gambling house, yours was the only carriage there." It turned out that after Tia disappeared, the second and fourth brothers had also arrived at the gambling house and immediately sent out the Borchester ducal household search team. They found only a single carriage near the gambling house, but that carriage just happened to belong to the royal family. The second brother tried to persuade the third. "You know very well that if we provoke the royal family, it will be troublesome." Then he continued speaking to the men. "If you won't let us look, then please inspect it yourselves. Our sister may be inside." The man burst into laughter. "What nonsense are you talking about? I already told you, there are only pet birds in here." As he spoke, he knocked on the carriage with his hand. "Can't you hear the birds singing? You may step aside now. If these birds die from fright, you likely won't be able to bear the responsibility." The three brothers were utterly helpless. Why did it have to be a palace carriage? Damn it, we have no right to search it. Tia was kidnapped and hidden inside a royal carriage. Although the three brothers suspected their sister was inside, they had no authority to inspect a royal carriage and could only watch as it gradually drove forward. The third brother cried out helplessly, "Lestia, if you're in there, answer me." Hearing his words, Tia was frantic, but she couldn't make any sound. Then she turned and saw that although the nail couldn't cut the rope, it should at least be able to cut the cloth gag in her mouth. Tia leaned toward the sharp nail and silently prayed, "This time it has to work." The carriage moved faster and faster, while behind it the third brother chased after it and shouted Tia's name. Just as he could no longer keep up with the carriage, he suddenly heard the faintest cry for help from Tia. That must be Lidi's voice. The third brother made an instant decision. He used earth magic, and soil instantly rose from the flat ground, lifting the carriage right up. As the carriage broke apart, the birds flew out. Tia fell out too and coughed twice. When she opened her eyes, a glowing butterfly appeared before her. It was her fourth brother's butterfly. How had it gotten here? Then she saw her fourth brother running over from the distance. He quickly helped Tia to her feet. "Are you all right?" Tia was aggrieved to the point of tears. Her fourth brother hurried to comfort her. "You were frightened, weren't you? It's all right now." Tia showed a relieved smile. "I'm really happy that you came to save me, but the matter wasn't over yet." At that moment, the three brothers could no longer suppress the fury in their hearts. The fourth brother clenched his fists. "The wound on my little sister's face and the trauma in her heart, I will make you repay it 100-fold." The three brothers attacked one after another. "How dare you treat my sister like this?" The two criminals were beaten until they couldn't fight back. But soon, the fourth brother made the other two stop. "As long as they're still alive, we can find out who the mastermind is and why they kidnapped Tia." The second brother felt indignant. Damn it, he had nearly lost his reason. He immediately lowered the criminals back down. Furious, the third brother rushed up and shouted, "Why was my sister here? Talk, you bastard!" But the man stubbornly refused to reveal the mastermind. The third brother kept punching him hard. "Who ordered you? Was it the royal family?" He grabbed the man's collar again. "Are you going to talk or not?" Tia had been rescued, but the mastermind still couldn't be found. The third brother tried to beat the answer out of the man. But in a moment of carelessness, both men bit poison and killed themselves. With no other choice, the third brother used magic to turn them into mud. Damn it, these people were clearly from the royal family. From then on, the three brothers became even more cautious. They absolutely could not let something like this happen a second time. After returning to the ducal estate, Dora was beside herself with worry. Looking at the injuries on Tia's face, she asked with concern, "How did you end up like this, my lady?" Tia sat obediently on the sofa. "I'm Euphine," but Dora still blamed everything on the three young masters. She glared fiercely at them, as though saying, "Three grown men who can use magic, and you still couldn't protect one little girl." Helpless, the three brothers could only huddle together and accept Dora's scolding. Dora took out medicine and applied it to Tia's wounds. Behind her, the brothers were tense and restless. The third brother stepped forward to apologize. "Lidi, I'm really sorry. It's all Big Brother's fault. I shouldn't have left you there alone." He raised his head and repeatedly banged it against the sofa. "I caused this to happen to you. I deserve to be punished." Dora wore an expression that said that was only natural. Tia stretched out her little hand to stop him. The third brother thought his little sister had forgiven him and asked with a bright smile, "Lidi, did you stop me because you were worried I'd hurt myself?" "No, I was worried you'd break the sofa armrest. The third brother was embarrassed beyond words. So it had all been wishful thinking on his part. The second and fourth brothers couldn't help laughing. Very soon, one sentence from Dora drove all the young masters out. Young masters, please step outside first. I still need to check whether the young lady has any other injuries. Bang, the door shut tightly. The second brother sternly criticized the third. You shouldn't have taken Tia outside so casually, much less brought a child like her to a gambling house. It was far too dangerous. The third brother explained to Joel, that's not it. That gambling house is very safe. Not only is it run cleanly, only people whose identities have been verified can enter. Patting his chest, he said firmly, why would I ever take my own little sister to a dangerous place? The fourth brother showed no mercy either. That place is only safe for you. The third brother instantly found himself with no way to refute that. Maybe you really have been wrong. Marcius was a noble son of the Borchester family, and also a mage. Ever since he was born, he had never encountered anything that posed a threat to him. Compared to him, Lestia was a fragile and tiny existence. If someone harbored ill intent toward the Borchester family, then she would be an easy target. After Joel's reasonable analysis, the third brother finally realized he had been wrong. But he swore he would find out who the mastermind was and what that person's objective had been, and then pay them back in kind. I'll make whoever dared touch my sister regret it. The fourth brother teased, a fool speaking like a real person for once. Joel winced from a headache. Marcius, although you were also at fault in the end, the real blame lies with those scheming bastards. The fourth brother told the other two, revenge is important, but before that, we need to make preparations to prevent anything like this from happening again. Joel agreed as well. After all, that child had no way to protect herself. That's right, she's too young, and she's a girl. The third brother scratched the back of his head. But she's not a mage. So what do we do? The butler walked over from behind and suggested, have a strongest knight stay by Tia's side 24 hours a day to protect her. The third brother was overjoyed and immediately raised his hand, insisting on personally becoming his little sister's guard. But after what had happened, how could the other two brothers still trust him? The third brother wore a gloomy expression. The second brother proposed choosing Tia's guard from their household's own night order. After all, we can't stay by her side all the time. Unable to decide, Joel asked the fourth brother, who do you think would be the most suitable knight? The third brother also agreed to let the fourth brother decide. You spar with the knights every day, so you should know who the strongest is. The fourth brother showed a proud expression. Is there any knight in the Borchester family who isn't strong? The third brother happily moved closer. That's great. It's been a long time since us brothers gathered together like this. Joel, meanwhile, said he needed to get in touch with their eldest brother. The fourth brother replied matter-of-factly, what do you mean a long time? This is the first time. The three chatted and laughed together at the side, and seeing such a harmonious scene, the butler also showed a relieved smile. Becoming Lestia's personal knight was something every knight dreamed of. In order to choose the strongest knight to protect Tia, the fourth brother specially came to the training grounds. The knights all began discussing who would become the young lady's knight. Everyone was eager to try. I have a feeling I'll definitely become the young lady's guard knight. Another knight beside him mocked. Ha ha ha, I have a feeling you'll be eliminated in the first round. A red-haired knight said, anyone who wants to rest early, come challenge me. I can put you down in 3 seconds. Then someone approached from behind and sternly rebuked him. Lestia's guard knight cannot be chosen by mere boasting. That person must possess the greatest strength and the resolve to protect the young lady, even at the cost of his life. The arrival of the fourth brother brought a sudden oppressive aura, and all the knights immediately straightened into serious expressions. From now on, I will select 3 knights who emerge victorious in duels. These 3 will henceforth become Lestia's honored guard knights. So now, let me see just how valiant the knights of Borchester are. The moment he finished speaking, the knights all unleashed their full strength in combat, while the fourth brother waited nearby for the birth of the 3 strongest knights. The next morning, Dora brought delicious food to Tia first thing. These are all cotton candy sodas. Soda flavor, lemon melon, chocolate, and strawberry. If you want any other flavors, just tell me anytime. And young Master Marcius specifically instructed me that this time you absolutely must try every flavor you like. Holding her spoon, Tia sank into thought. Is it because I didn't finish it that time, so he feels bad about it? Bite. Tia ate, thinking, big brother Marcius, I'll enjoy it properly. Then the scene shifted to the royal side. The crown prince had just received a report from his subordinates. So you're saying you failed? The subordinate broke into a cold sweat at the tone of the crown prince's voice. Your Highness the Crown Prince, I'm sorry. The crown prince was furious. I personally prepared the birdcage. Because she has white hair, even deliberately put some brightly colored pet birds in with her so she wouldn't be easy to spot at a glance. And yet you still failed. Grinding his teeth, the crown prince swung his long sword. It flashed past the subordinate's face in an instant. The subordinate was terrified. "You useless thing," the crown prince raged. "You've ruined all my plans." Then he kicked the man several times. "How did you idiots manage this? You couldn't even bring back one little girl." Clutching the pain, the subordinate dropped to his knees and apologized. It was only supposed to be capturing a child and bringing her back. What was so difficult about that? Tia then received the protection of the 3 strongest knights, while the crown prince continued plotting to capture Lestia alive. Learning that the Borchester family had extremely tight security and could not be infiltrated, he could only make use of Tia's uncle to lure her out. The crown prince instructed his subordinate, "This time, the plan must not fail again." The uncle revealed a greedy expression. "What brings you to me this time, sir?" "I've come for your niece, Lestia." The two whispered together inside the room. Faced with this new danger, would Tia be able to escape unharmed? The scene returned to the ducal house, where Dora was happy for Tia. Judging by the depth of the cuts, they probably won't leave scars. The medicines all applied. "Young lady, you'll be able to have breakfast right away. You need to eat well so you can recover quickly." Tia felt so happy to have a maid who cared for her this much. Ever since she had seen Big Brother Joel and Big Brother Marcius 2 days ago, she hadn't seen them again. Tia had wanted them to eat with her, but since they seemed so busy, she felt she shouldn't disturb them. Tia took big bites of breakfast, since the 2nd and 3rd brothers couldn't eat with her. Then today she would at least make the 4th brother eat with her. As usual, Tia came to her 4th brother's study to read, and just then he brought 3 knights in front of her. The 4th brother told Tia, "Starting today, they are your personal knights." Tia looked puzzled. "My personal knights?" The 3 knights immediately shouted in unison, "It is our honor to protect the young lady." Then all 3 knights knelt together and swore to Tia, "We are the fangs and claws of the brave lion that rules the Northwest. We are willing to offer our hearts to Lestia. Will you accept our oath of loyalty?" Tia looked completely lost. Her 4th brother quickly urged her, "Why are you hesitating? You're the daughter of a ducal house. Having a few knights is only natural." Then, leaning closer, he whispered, "If a knight's oath of loyalty is rejected, it's the greatest humiliation for a knight." The 3 knights waited expectantly for Tia's answer, until Tia finally said, "I accept." One of the knights saluted Tia. "My name is Frank. To become your knight, I defeated all the other knights and became the strongest elite." Another knight cut in eagerly. "My lady, don't be fooled by him. The best knight is me, Elliot. If this guy hadn't sneakily attacked me from behind, I definitely would have won." Frank replied, "Really now, how is that sneaky? Don't you know that exposing your back to your opponent is a knight's disgrace?" The two of them bicker at the side, while the last knight seemed rather shy. "I'm not as impressive as those two, but I'll definitely do my very best." Tia smiled brightly. "Then I'm counting on all of you, Bor." There really was someone this adorable in the Borchester family. In order to find a mastermind behind Tia's attempted murder as quickly as possible, her 4th brother began searching through a vast amount of information. From beginning to end, Tia was followed by 3 personal knights, whose eyes never left her for even a moment. They were terrified that Tia might be harmed again, but Tia felt that this kind of constant close protection put her under enormous pressure. On top of that, there were still many words she couldn't read, and she worried the 3 knights would laugh at her behind her back. And she still didn't fully know how to use tableware. They would definitely make fun of her for that too. They might even think she wasn't really a child of the Borchester family. Tia was deeply worried, but her 4th brother quickly noticed his sister's situation and thought, if she's uncomfortable, she can just say it directly. Why hesitate? Helpless, he had no choice but to personally turn down the knight's good intentions. "You're disturbing her. Wait until she actually needs you before appearing." But it was obvious the 3 knights had already become utterly devoted to his little sister, so 4th brother had to glare at them in command. Only then did the knights leave in sorrow. 4th brother recalled the scene when he had saved Tia. In order to silence those 2 men, someone had actually used magic to kill them. As for bloodline magic families, there were only 5. The first was the Borchester family, who had to use mana-neutralizing stones. The second was the Lonani family, who consumed their own life force to cast healing magic. The third was the Lockvit family, born with magic eyes that could see the truth, but who would go blind at a young age. The fourth was the Winradrast family, who could create swords with magic powerful enough to cut through anything, but whose minds would eventually be destroyed, turning them into madmen. And the fifth was the Graylian family, who could foresee the future, but spent more than half their lives asleep in dreams. Fourth brother began to suspect the royal family. Once the bloodline mages were ruled out, only Magic researchers remained. In that case, the Morgadum royal family was indeed the most suspicious. Aside from bloodline magic, most magic passed down through grimoires was under their control. They had studied all kinds of grimoires, so they could certainly create magical tools with overwhelming destructive power. Most importantly, if the royal family knew Tia was a revealer, then they would have even more reason to target her. After all, that ability could easily decipher grimoires. How could the royal family possibly let Tia go so easily? Second brother and third brother were still gathering information. For now, he would wait and see. At that moment, Tia picked up a book and asked fourth brother, "Does this word mean this?" That's right. Tia was so happy she stood right up. She had actually gotten it right. Fourth brother was happy for Tia as well. So his little sister's eyes could shine this brightly. He had never expected a revealer's ability to learn to be this strong. Before long, there might be nothing left he could teach her. Resting his chin on one hand, fourth brother wore a satisfied expression. Looks like I need to find her. An excellent teacher. Just then, Tia suddenly asked, "Can I read a grimoire today?" Fourth brother glanced at the grimoire. Was this her instinct? Even if the grimoire was placed high up where she couldn't reach it, she would still somehow find it. So fourth brother readily agreed, but he instructed Tia not to read any of the words aloud. Otherwise, she might trigger magic. Tia happily took the grimoire, and after a while, she cautiously asked fourth brother, "Can you have dinner with me tonight? If you're busy, you can refuse." "I was just asking." Fourth brother found it strange. Why had she suddenly turned into such a timid little rabbit? Putting on his usual cool expression, he said, "Honestly, what's there to be shy about? We'll eat together tonight." After learning that fourth brother had agreed, Tia happily returned to her book. Just then, the butler hurried over to fourth brother. "Young master, there's a visitor outside asking for Mississippi." Fourth brother was puzzled and asked who it was. The butler grimly told him, "That man says he's Mrs. Uncle." So the family had sent Tia's uncle to the Borchester estate to harm Tia, and the moment Tia heard that her uncle had come to see her, the book slipped from her hands. Her whole body trembled uncontrollably. Fourth brother immediately told the butler to throw the uncle out, but the butler said, "I've tried many times already, but he insists there's something he must personally give Mississippi. He says it's a keepsake left behind by her mother." Fourth brother said there was no need for Tia to meet him. Just take it from him. But Tia quickly interrupted him. "No, I want to see my uncle." Fourth brother was confused. "Why do you insist on seeing that piece of trash? Is it because of your mother's keepsake? I already said I'd get it back for you." Tia replied that she wanted to tell him herself, not to come looking for her ever again. Helpless, fourth brother could only go with Tia. As long as he stayed by his sister's side himself, nothing should happen. The moment they entered the drawing room, the uncle greeted her enthusiastically. "My dear niece, hello. It's been such a long time." But the shadow her uncle had left on Tia was too deep. Tia took several frightened steps back. Her uncle said, "You were born a precious young lady. Yet I made you suffer so much. I am truly sorry. At the time, I really was too poor." The uncle wore a sly smile, acting as if he had no choice. The moment Tia saw that malicious smile on his face, she remembered the past. Back then, her uncle would curse at her constantly and beat her whenever he got drunk. Tia trembled all over in fear as her uncle slowly approached her, even trying to touch her hair. Fortunately, fourth brother stepped forward to stop him, warning the uncle with a glare. Tia stretched out a small hand, signaling that fourth brother needn't worry. Clenching her teeth and gathering her courage, Tia said directly, "I know everything you're saying is a lie." The uncle broke into a cold sweat. "Tia, what do you mean by that? Your uncle came to apologize, and you're saying this? That really hurts me. Look, I even brought your mother's keepsake, especially for you. I just wanted to hand it to you personally." Tia loudly exposed the uncle's false affection. That is fake too. If there really had been a keepsake, you would have sold it or thrown it away long ago. In the end, Tia simply knew her uncle too well. Seeing himself exposed on someone else's turf, the uncle could only keep pretending not to understand. "I was going to bring it to you once you'd grown up. Now the time has come." Tia firmly refused him. "I don't need it. Please take it away." The uncle helplessly pleaded with Tia, "I've recently started working. Take this, and from now on, let's get along, all right? We're family, after all." Tia hesitated slightly, but then remembered the scene of being mercilessly abandoned by him. That made her certain that everything from her uncle was fake. "Please don't appear before me again in the future. I won't treat you as family anymore either, because that day, you sold me." Her uncle flew into a rage and shouted, "You little brat, don't get so arrogant." The moment he spoke, the 3 knights' arrows were already at his throat. Breaking into a cold sweat, he said, "Fine, I understand. Then at least take this." But fourth brother directly ordered the knights to throw him out. Seeing his plan was about to fail, The uncle suddenly hurled the box toward Tia. In midair, the box instantly released a large amount of poison. The moment he saw it, fourth brother immediately shielded Tia. Fourth brother entered a berserk state, his own fire magic blazing violently around him. In order to save him, Tia tried to use the grimoire's power, but an uninformed knight stopped her. Tia quickly explained to the knight. At last, the knight picked Tia up in one motion so she could more easily reach the grimoire. Tia hurried back to where everyone else had taken shelter and asked the butler to give her the mana-neutralizing stone, saying she needed to deliver it herself. She said she could save young Master Lishan, but the butler knew full well that Miss had no magic. How could he stand by and watch her go to her death? The butler's attitude was extremely firm. Tia was frantic. Grabbing the butler's clothes, she begged desperately, "Please give me the neutralizing stone. I have to go in and save fourth brother." But the butler still would not budge. Even Knight Frank tried to persuade her. "Miss, no matter how worried you are about young Master Lishan, you must not go in. If you are hurt, then young Master Lishan's efforts will all have been for nothing." Tia grew furious. "Didn't you swear loyalty to me? Or were those just empty words?" The three knights were left speechless by Tia's rebuke. Knight Frank lowered his head and humbly explained, "Of course we are your knights, but when you make the wrong decision, we must stop you too." Another knight agreed with Frank. "The fire is too intense. How could you possibly get in? You don't have any magic. Ordinary people can't enter." Tia held the grimoire tightly and said she could prove she would not be harmed. Then Tia slowly opened the grimoire, though inwardly she still doubted herself. "Can I really activate magic? Please." Tia began reciting the incantation before everyone. As the spell neared completion, a complex magic circle began to appear before her eyes. In the next second, dazzling white light burst from beneath her feet. Everyone was stunned by what Miss had done. My heavens, didn't Miss say she couldn't use magic? With a flash, a blue magic circle appeared centered on Tia. The butler knew at once. This definitely was not the Borchester family's elemental magic. From that moment on, he knew there was no need for more words. The butler finally relaxed, wearing a relieved expression. This was revealer magic. This child absolutely was a Borchester. Tia reached out a small hand and took the ring the butler gave her. At the same time, fourth brother's condition was very bad. The purple poison had evolved into a cyan poison under the influence of fire magic. On top of that, his flames had already spread to the bookshelves. He believed it wouldn't be long before he left this world. Fourth brother started to feel unimaginably exhausted. Though he had imagined countless ways of dying when he was young, he had never expected to die by Lishan's hand. His strength finally ran out. With a thud, he collapsed to the floor, still murmuring Tia's name. I really wanted to see once more. Those round eyes of hers when she was thinking seriously, and that brilliant smile. In his haze, fourth brother seemed to hear Tia calling him. It looked like he really was done for if he was even hearing things now. As the voice grew louder, fourth brother raised his head and saw Tia running toward him from far away. But he thought it was all an illusion. With gratitude in his heart, he whispered, "Thank you for appearing. Even if this is only a hallucination, I'm satisfied." As the fire grew fiercer, the chandelier above fourth brother suddenly snapped. Tia cried out in terror. No, she rushed into the sea of fire, using the grimoire's power to save fourth brother. By then, he was already utterly exhausted, sprawled on the ground, watching as the chandelier was about to crash down on him. Without hesitation, Tia leaped forward and used her own body to shield fourth brother. The chandelier was blocked by Tia's magic. A magical barrier wrapped around them both protectively. When fourth brother opened his eyes again, he realized what stood before him was not an illusion. It was his real little sister. Enduring the pain, fourth brother asked Tia, "How did you get in here?" Before she could answer, he noticed the grimoire in her arms. Tia immediately put the mana-neutralizing stone ring on him. Very quickly, the backlash from his own magic began to weaken. Though he was deeply moved that Tia had saved him, he was still angry at how reckless she had been. "Idiot, how could you charge straight into a fire? Who let you in here? What are those Gar Knights even doing?" Tia immediately shouted back, "It's not their fault. I insisted on coming in. Didn't you tell me before that I could choose for myself where I want to go?" Fourth brother scolded her. "That still doesn't mean you can rush into a blaze." Tia stood firm. "As long as you're in danger, my choice will always be the same." Fourth brother froze for a moment. He had never imagined that a sister he'd only known for a few days would already love him this much. A thunderclap rang out in the sky, and a torrential downpour began at once. The great fire outside the house was gradually extinguished. The butler also breathed a sigh of relief. Tia successfully led fourth brother out of the drawing room. "It seems to be raining. That's wonderful. But fourth brother," quickly realized there was something strange about the rain. Yes, this was eldest brother Gerald's magic. Gerald slowly walked up to Tia, wearing a cold expression. "So you're Alestia." Another deafening roll of thunder sounded overhead. Tia clasped her hands together and politely answered him, but Gerald said nothing more and simply turned to leave. The other two followed him outside, Dora and the maids were relieved that the two of them had made it out safely, while the butler was called aside by Gerald for a private conversation. Tia secretly glanced in the butler's direction. She had a vague sense of foreboding and heard that the butler had already told eldest brother everything that had happened. Tia blamed herself terribly. This had all happened because of her and her uncle. Gerald asked everyone, "Where is that uncle now?" Knight Frank told him, "Because of the fire just now, everything was in chaos. I only focused on getting Miss out, so that uncle disappeared." The three knights apologized to Gerald in unison. Gerald remained cold and composed. "So he escaped, is that it?" Gerald walked up to Tia and, with a grave expression, told her, "I am not a merciful man. I remove anything that threatens this family. That is my way." His eyes lowered slightly as he continued, "But this time, I will give you the choice. You tell me how your uncle should be punished." Tia glanced at fourth brother, whose body was covered in wounds, and firmly told eldest brother, "Uncle must be punished. I will never forgive him." Tia's uncle had failed to frame Tia, and instead dragged fourth brother into it. For behavior like that, Tia would never forgive him. She asked Gerald to make sure her uncle was severely punished. "Back then, Uncle sold me, and now he nearly got Brother Lishan killed." Tia said she would not protect him, just because he was family. Gerald respected Tia's choice and immediately ordered the knights to search everywhere for her uncle. Meanwhile, Tia's uncle had not yet escaped the territory of the Borchester estate, avoiding the roads on purpose. He hid in the forest and tried to flee. He even complained that Tia had actually dared to be so arrogant and glare at him. No matter what, he had raised Tia for 10 years. But the moment he thought about having completed his mission, he burst into delighted laughter. Now he only needed to go back and collect the money. He recalled his conversation with someone from the royal family. Back then, he had told a royal servant that Tia could not use magic, and in return he had received a pile of gold coins. Then the royal servant had proposed one more condition. If the uncle simply opened that box near her, the task would be complete, and afterwards he would receive double the gold. Thinking about how he was just about to get twice as much money, the uncle ran joyfully toward home. Suddenly, an arrow shot from the distance and struck his thigh. He crashed to the ground. When he looked up, the three guard knights were already standing before him, their expressions fierce as they told him, "We would have loved to finish you off right here, but our kind young lady insisted that we bring you back alive." And so, not only did the uncle fail to get his gold, he was dragged back to the Duke's estate by the knights. Tia asked her uncle what exactly had been inside that box. The uncle clenched his fists and did not answer. Instead, he crawled toward Gerald and pleaded, "My lord, please give me a chance to explain. I only came to get my niece or mother's keepsake. I have no idea why that box exploded." Gerald looked at him gravely as the uncle continued. "Besides, how could that girl possibly be your noble younger sister?" Tia was deeply hurt to hear that and clutched her skirt tightly. Her uncle was despicable. Even fourth brother couldn't stand it anymore. Raising blazing flames, he shouted, "Do you want me to burn you to ashes?" Gerald raised a hand to stop fourth brother, then looked at Tia, as if telling him this should be left to their sister. After all, it was her own matter. Tia immediately asked Knight Frank, "How do Borchester knights usually deal with liars?" Frank, barely containing himself, told Tia, "Liars, of course, are thoroughly dealt with until they tell the truth." Tia hardened her heart. "Then let my uncle experience it properly." In the next second, a knight grabbed the uncle by the collar and slammed him to the ground. Tia couldn't bear to watch and stopped him. "Frank, that's enough." The uncle hurriedly apologized. "Tia, I was wrong." Tia asked him, "Do you know what you did wrong?" The uncle coughed twice and slowly climbed back up. "Everything was my fault from beginning to end. I shouldn't have beaten you before. I shouldn't have made you sell flowers in winter either. But that wasn't what Tia meant. That's not what I'm asking. I only want you to tell me about the box." Yet the uncle did not want to reveal the one behind it all, because he knew that once he confessed who the mastermind was, not only would he lose the doubled gold, he would also lose the royal family as a source of money. A knight grabbed his clothes and raised a fist in warning. Terrified, the uncle hurriedly began spilling everything. That box was, before he could finish, he suddenly began vomiting violently. His body swayed from side to side in agony. Worried, Tia stepped forward to check on him, but fourth brother covered her eyes with his hand. Tia's uncle had been silenced by the royal family. Just as he was about to reveal the mastermind, magic from the Royal Research Institute reduced him to ashes. Tia anxiously asked fourth brother, "What happened to uncle?" By the time fourth brother removed his hand, her uncle had vanished without a trace. That night, second brother and third brother also heard what had happened and returned to the Duke's estate. The moment third brother got back, he started clamoring to see Tia but fourth brother told him not to shout. Tia was already resting. Third brother immediately asked fourth brother, was Liddy badly frightened? Fourth brother wore a look of disgust. Maybe he should never have told third brother. Tia was here at all. Third brother curiously asked fourth brother, what exactly happened? I heard the ducal residence was burned. Weren't you at home? Then why did the house end up like that? Eldest brother Gerald suddenly appeared behind fourth brother and answered third brother. Matthews, I don't think you're in any position to blame Lishan. I also heard you took Lestia to a casino. Third brother tried to explain, but eldest brother cut him off. I already said having one reckless person in this family is enough. Are you planning to spoil our sister too? Gerald mercilessly rebuked Matthews, which made third brother furious. He angrily shot back. How am I spoiling her? At the very least, Liddy has the right to play freely. Gerald coldly replied, what do you mean freely? That's indulgence. Third brother continued arguing with Gerald. You're just like father, rigid and stubborn. I already know what happened today. Tia witnessed her uncle ending up like that with her own eyes, and you handed Borchester authority to an 11-year-old child and made her decide how to punish her own uncle. You just want to turn our sister into someone as cruel as you, don't you? Eldest brother slowly walked down the stairs and asked in return, and what's wrong with that? The only person here who refuses to wield Borchester power is you, Matthews. The more third brother listened, the angrier he became. Does being a Borchester mean everyone has to live in exactly the same way? I've had enough. I hate you. With that, third brother turned and left at once. Even second brother couldn't agree with eldest brother's methods. I think it would be better to let Tia slowly learn how to use Borchester authority. As for that uncle, you could have left it entirely to me. Gerald was silent for a while. In any case, as long as she is a member of the Borchester family, she must adapt as quickly as possible to things like commanding subordinates. The three brothers came to the meeting room to exchange information and investigate the mastermind. After quarreling fiercely with eldest brother, third brother left the drawing room sulking. Gerald said that the magic that had killed the uncle really was something developed by the royal family. The Academy's record showed that it was a type of magic used to completely eliminate a person alive in order to prevent secrets from leaking. Second brother also suspected that the mastermind was the royal family. Based on the information Matthews had brought back, the pet bird in the carriage had indeed been ordered by the crown prince. But because it involved the royal family, Gerald told everyone these were still only suspicions. There was no concrete evidence. For now, this should not offend the royal family. Meanwhile, fourth brother was extremely worried about Tia's safety. Her ability was enough to make the royal family watch her like hungry wolves. Brother, what do you plan to do? Gerald proposed sending Tia back to the Northwestern Territory first thing tomorrow morning, then continuing their investigation into the royal family. Joel agreed with eldest brother's idea, and the meeting came to an end. The next day, fourth brother discovered third brother pacing back and forth outside Tia's room, too afraid to go in. Fourth brother asked, didn't you come to see Tia? Why aren't you going in? Startled by the sudden voice, third brother said in shame that he simply felt too embarrassed to face Tia. Even though I argued with eldest brother, I actually know he was right. The way I do things really is nothing like a Borchester. Maybe I really am just a brother who will only lead Liddy astray. Fourth brother quickly comforted him. I actually think your silly side isn't bad. Every time, you make me think of something new. Maybe, to her, a free-spirited brother like you is the best kind of brother. Third brother was deeply comforted. Suddenly, a knock came from inside the room. Hugging her pink rabbit, Tia curiously asked, who is it? In the next second, fourth brother pushed both the door and third brother into the room together. Third brother hurriedly patted Tia on the head. Liddy, it's all right. You don't need to take it to heart. He's always been that rigid. When Gerald heard third brother bad-mouthing him, he was extremely displeased and turned around, clearly about to argue with him. Joel saw things were going south and immediately stepped in front of third brother protectively. Big brother, where are you going so early in the morning? I thought you were coming to the territory with us. Gerald stared fixedly at Matthias and said nothing in reply to Joel. The hallway fell unusually silent, as if a battle were about to break out. Fortunately, the butler spoke first. It's like this, Your Grace. His Imperial Highness the Crown Prince has invited the Duke to breakfast. Joel clenched his fists and asked angrily, do you really have to go? Gerald answered helplessly, we may not have proof, but we should at least give him a warning. After saying that, Big Brother turned and left. Third brother scoffed. Look at that guy. He really is cold and heartless. Isn't he, Liddy? Don't you think Big Brother can be unbelievably frustrating? Joel quickly tried to stop him. Matthias, don't say things like that about Big Brother in front of Tia. Tia was a little stunned. But seeing third brother's expression, she couldn't help finding it funny. Just then, Tia noticed something strange about fourth brother. He always seemed to stand by and observe everything happening in the family. Even though he was the youngest, he always looked at everything with a kind of detached superiority. Was it just her imagination? Something felt off. Do you know what was inside the box used to frame Tia? Just as Gerald was on his way to the palace, for the morning audience. The Crown Prince smugly recalled what the box had been for. The purple poison inside that box was actually a magic enhancer. Its main purpose was to test whether Lestia truly could not use magic. If the victim were someone who could use magic, then once the poison spread through the body, they would be tormented by rampaging mana and might even be killed by their own magic. If lucky, they might survive. The Crown Prince confidently continued thinking through his plan. Even if Lestia survived the poison, the Borchester family would request mana neutralization from the royal family. That way, he would learn what elemental magic Lestia used. And even if Lestia were just an ordinary person incapable of magic, being near the poison would still seriously injure him. So no matter the outcome, it would be enough to cause Gerald trouble. But unfortunately, Lestia was completely unharmed. Instead, his uncle was dealt with by the Crown Prince. But to the Crown Prince, none of that mattered. As long as one member of the Borchester family was hurt, that was enough. Because the Crown Prince's goal was to leave Gerald. Angry yet powerless, the Crown Prince sneered. I really want to see what Gerald's proud face looks like twisted with hatred. Little did he know that this would invite Gerald's brutal retaliation. Gerald had said he would give the Crown Prince a warning. So how exactly would the cold and distant Gerald warn him? To everyone's surprise, Gerald was actually prepared to strike hard for Tia's sake. Just now, Gerald had arrived at the Crown Prince's breakfast banquet, and his purpose this time was to give the Crown Prince a warning. After Gerald finished the usual formalities, the Crown Prince noticed that Gerald seemed to be in far better shape than expected. So he feigned concern and asked, I heard the entire Borchester ducal estate burned down. You must be deeply troubled. Gerald still wore his usual cold expression as he answered, It was only a house. What is there to be troubled about? Gerald's reply nearly infuriated the Crown Prince to death. Both of his schemes had failed to make Gerald look distressed. It seemed he would not get to see that miserable expression today, after all. Pretending to remain calm, the Crown Prince invited Gerald to take his seat. The moment Gerald sat down, he happened to notice an empty birdcage hanging on the other side, with no bird inside. The Crown Prince smirked inwardly, seeming to think he had finally found something that could make Gerald angry, yet helpless. Excitedly, he told Gerald, I originally intended to put a pet in that cage, but there was an accident during transport, so it's still empty for now. Still, sooner or later, I'll put something inside. Only then did Gerald fully understand. At first, he had merely suspected the Crown Prince was behind the attempt on his little sister's life. But from those loaded words, he was now certain. Gerald clenched his fist. In the next instant, the flowers and plants around them withered on the spot. Clearly, this was Gerald's water magic. The Crown Prince turned his head, saw the abnormal scene around him, and flew into a rage. He sprang to his feet and shouted, Duke Borchester, what are you doing? Gerald replied without changing expression. The scent of the flowers was simply too strong. It was interfering with my meal. The Crown Prince was furious, yet dared not speak. His fist clenched tightly as he trembled. I will send your highness a new pet bird and a gardener as compensation. Gerald slowly walked toward the Crown Prince and warned him, Today, I simply failed to control my magic very well. I ask for your highness's understanding. In the next second, Gerald deliberately tore off his own magic suppressor. Your highness, don't forget whose hands your life rests in. The Crown Prince broke out in a cold sweat and sat upright like an obedient child. Gerald only needed a few words of intimidation, and that would have been enough. Yet Gerald lightly raised a finger, and the moisture in the Crown Prince's body began draining away as if from an open tap. The Crown Prince's breathing grew faster and faster. He wanted to loudly order the guards to seize Gerald, but after only 3 words, Gerald lifted the spell. The dignified Crown Prince could not even handle a single member of the Borchester family. If word of this got out, the other nobles would surely mock him. Thinking of that, the Crown Prince could only slam the table in helpless fury, while Gerald strode out of the palace with ease. Tia gazed excitedly out the window. It was her first time seeing the endless sea. Third brother pouted and asked impatiently, Is the sea really that interesting? Is it more fun than playing with your brother? Clearly, third brother was a little jealous. But at that moment, Tia was far too stirred up to calm down. Her heart was pounding so fast she barely heard what third brother was saying. So this is the sea up close. It's amazing. This is incredible. Third brother was heartbroken when he heard that. He had thought his little sister would say that playing with him was more fun, but instead, the sea had completely stolen her attention. Even Joel couldn't help laughing at third brother's behavior. Unlike third brother, Joel's way of doing things was entirely different. He simply accepted that. Tia liked the sea and even took out some cookies so she could snack while admiring the view. Third brother immediately accused Joel of being shameless for trying to win their sister over with food. Joel told him, It's just that our ways of getting her attention are different. Tia seemed not to hear the two brothers bickering at all. Not only was she eating with great enjoyment, she was still staring at the sea with complete focus. But even more, Surprising was young Master Lucian. He sat quietly by himself, not saying a single word. He had always worried that Tia might run into more danger, but now that Gerald had returned, there should have been no need for him to concern himself with her anymore. Yet for some reason, he still couldn't help paying attention to her. Lost in thought, fourth brother stared at Tia with a strange look in his eyes, making Tia feel very puzzled. Fourth brother quickly turned his head away and pretended nothing had happened. Then he told Tia, "There's no need to rush to look at the sea now. Once we reach Borchester territory, you'll see so much of it you'll get tired of it. Borchester's main city sits on cliffs by the sea, so you can clearly see the ocean even from your room." Tia was both surprised and excited. Then third brother added, "That's right, Liddy. Summer's almost here. Once it gets hot, let's all go play by the sea together. I'll definitely make sure you have the time of your life." Tia was delighted, but her two brothers were speechless. "You say you're taking our sister to the beach? I only hope you don't cause trouble." Third brother looked indignant, saying that damages my reputation as an older brother. Fourth brother immediately cut in. "You actually have a reputation?" Third brother was practically furious. "Honestly, Lucian, why are you like this too?" And just like that, the three brothers began another round of bickering. Tia and the others traveled a long distance before finally arriving at the harbor. There were many Borches, her family ships there, their sails marked with a family crest. Third brother took Tia's little hand and urged her onto the ship. Once on deck, Tia could clearly feel that she was now floating on the water. The rocking ship nearly made her lose her footing. Third brother spread his hand and asked Tia how it felt. "The moment you step onto a ship, doesn't it feel so free?" A cool sea breeze carrying a faint salty smell brushed through Tia's hair and skirt. She smiled at her brother. "Yes, this is my first time feeling something like this." Third brother immediately and eagerly took Tia by the hand, wanting to show her even prettier scenery. But just then, Tia happened to notice second brother and fourth brother talking with the butler. But why did young Master Lucian always wear that cloak whenever he went out? Such a handsome face was always hidden beneath it, and those golden eyes under his hat were so beautiful. He actually kept hidden eyes more beautiful than any jewel, just as Tia was staring fixedly at fourth brother. Lucian turned back and glanced at her. Tia hurriedly turned her head away. She thought to herself, "I made eye contact with fourth brother again. Why do I keep staring at him?" The more Tia thought about it, the redder her face became. Just then, third brother suddenly sensed a change in the surroundings and quickly shielded Tia with his arm. Leaning against third brother's chest, Tia was at a loss. Even the people around them suddenly stopped moving. It turned out that Gerald had arrived. Third brother looked disgusted. "Who would have thought big brother would get here even faster than I expected? And he's ruined the mood, too."